somewhere along the side streets.
Well, to be honest, the last place you want this guy is weaving through neighborhoods.
Right.
We've already had a child killed on a bicycle earlier this week. That may have been a drunk driver. We'll have more on that. That person's been arrested, by the way. We'll have more on that at 5. But the last thing you want is for a speeding car to be whipping through neighborhoods on a Friday afternoon.
Yeah, he or she doesn't seem to be going too
24th
quickly.
Street.
24th Street, there
And
it
now
is.
turning on to probably, could be McDowell, possibly.
Or Thomas.
I'm trying to think what's up a little bit north from there.
We might see here in a moment if we get some cross streets
We
here.
get a road sign. Again, you know, traffic is really, this is, for the guy being pursued, you're going to have kind of limited options.
Right. Turning down a side street. What is this?
Yeah, this is kind of an industrial restaurant, and then you're into a neighborhood, and you hate to see this.
Speed bumps.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to tell where this person is going or why. Again, we don't know why law enforcement might be pursuing this individual. Picking up speed here a little bit.
You know, and a lot of times it's a stolen car. So it could be
Right.
that, or somebody where there's warrants and they weren't able to execute the move. Usually, though, if they've got warrants on somebody, they can put a drop on them, and it's very quick. And they're very good at it. So this may be a stolen car. We'll have to see. There could have been a commission of another crime. We just don't know.
Yeah, we'll have to see. You know, making a move. Well, I can imagine that this might be coming to an end pretty soon, right? I mean, he's moving pretty slowly in a neighborhood where you have all these twists and turns, and hopefully law enforcement is close behind, and we might learn some more.
Or it's a great advertisement for the need of street repair in the city of Phoenix.
Look
My
at this,
goodness.
yeah.
It's like a patchwork. One of the things that we have noticed in the past is often whoever's being pursued, they will head back toward the neighborhood where they live because they know it like the back of their hand. They feel comfortable there. So we will see. Perhaps we'll find when this ends that this person headed back to their stomping grounds. It's just easier. They know the roads. They know where to go.
It doesn't seem like they know where they're going right now, though. They seem to be stopping and looking around, making a quick decision of where to go next. They don't look too confident in where they're heading.
Yeah, apartment complexes could be anything. We've got to believe that the Firebird chopper for Phoenix PD or the DPS chopper is up over this. So they're kind of going along similar to what you're seeing on our picture, where they've got this guy from the air. And the problem with this for police, it's such a Byzantine deal going through these neighborhoods, trying to get out ahead of this guy and drop stop sticks or try to stop him. It gets tougher in some respects even than the freeway.
Right, so unpredictable. At least on the freeway, you know, they can kind of get ahead of it, come on another exit and kind of do a pit maneuver or whatever they have to do. But here, yeah, it's kind of a gamble. You don't really know where this person's going or where they could end up. What's that van behind him?
Interesting. Don't know.
Oh, there's 3 of them. Okay, something's happening
This
here.
could be a bunch of unmarked. So those are big, big units, by the way.
They are. It's interesting what's going to happen here.
Wish we had a better lead on.
You can see the other chopper shadow there, so they're up.
Yeah, I wish we had a better lead on exactly where this is, but we know it's a little north of the 202 at 24th Street. It's right in that area, somewhere along, you know, somewhere between Thomas, maybe McDowell.
Possibly.
In that area.
Yeah. They're slowing down here. You
That's
got somebody
another
in front.
similar unit up ahead of him.
In front and back. This is interesting. I haven't seen a pursuit like this one with these big vans.
Unless he got in the middle of some kind of convoy that we're unaware of. We don't know if these are police, what exactly this is.
Yeah, they're unmarked. Okay, we're coming to a stop here. Oh, no, we're not. Looks like the vehicle is going to
And that is
continue.
McDowell.
Okay.
If I've got my bearings right, it depends on which way he turns. If he turns right here, as you're looking at it, he'll be heading westbound on McDowell. So he's heading westbound, I believe, on McDowell, given the position of our chopper, heading more toward downtown Phoenix. So this could be 24th Street coming up as he speeds past it. School zone, blowing right through it. Well, he's got a little bit of runway here, so you know, the concern always is again running a red light. These are tricky situations.
Right. And you can expect a lot of times around this time, you'll expect to see a lot of cars on this road as well. So traffic will begin to back up here too.
Yep.
Plus you have construction, as you can see there. So this person's going to have to slow down at some point. You got neighborhoods on your left and on your right, shops as well. So things are going to slow down pretty quickly, I think.
Yeah, and okay, so he's kind of stuck here. No turn lane really to speak of where he can do much. He can't really go in the opposing lanes. Again, these are these curious cars that are pulling up next to him, these van-like cars.
Unmarked vans, yeah.
That look like they may be police vans. He may be doing a U here. He's now heading eastbound on McDowell. Those could be, yeah, those have got to be police units because now they're following him.
Yeah, there's about 6 of them there.
That makes you wonder what this is all about because that potentially they could hold a lot of folks in those vans.
Right. DPS, we're getting word that DPS is following the vehicle, so.
Yeah, that's a lot of, I don't want to say firepower, but it's a lot of manpower potentially in those vans. You wonder what commission of what crime this might have been.
Right, whether it's drugs or weapons, or you don't know what they're expecting here when they do eventually get this person to stop.
You know, the other part of this, I don't want to date myself, but when we first started covering these things, when I started, you know, you didn't have the cell phone where you could jump on a telephone and start communicating with people to get ready for your arrival. But these guys often are in communication with girlfriends or family or gang members or people who might be able to help them out. And, and he, you know, he may be plotting where he's going to end up and maybe where he can bail out and try to vanish, disappear.
Yeah, and obviously, you know, law enforcement, they don't want some kind of ambush situation, so they're overly prepared for what kind of situation they're following here.
So this is eastbound on McDowell. He flipped around and he's heading east on McDowell. He was on the I-10, we saw that. He was on the 202. He actually didn't make it to the I-10. There's 22nd Street. So 22nd Street and McDowell is where this is unfolding. And he's heading eastbound. He was on the 202. We picked him up east of the 101 interchange that heads up to Scottsdale and then south down to Chandler.
It looks like we lost Chopper for a moment. There, it's back.
Okay. Did we lose him is the question.
Oh, there.
Oh, okay. Now heading on the 51, it appears. That's the silver sedan there. We believe it's a Ford, maybe a Ford Focus, something like that. And the speeds it was reaching on the 202 until he ran into traffic were probably in excess of 90 miles an hour. Yeah,
and again, we don't know exactly why law enforcement is following this vehicle at this time, but we do know there's a heavy presence of law enforcement behind this guy. We saw maybe 4 or 5, maybe even 6 big black unmarked vans following this vehicle, and at one point he was driving through neighborhoods off of McDowell there, coming to a slow pace, and now obviously he's picked up again and we're on the 51 now.
Yeah, and he's spun around now and could be heading to the airport, which presents all kinds of problems, frankly, for the helicopter, airspace, clearance, and obviously it becomes a little more complicated trying to track him when you get into Sky Harbor airspace.
Right. And law enforcement has their chopper on him as well.
Right, and we may run into problems with that as well. We'll have to see.
Yeah, it's hard to tell who this individual is. It didn't look like there was multiple people in the car. It just looked like the driver was present.
Right, in a red shirt, red or orange shirt.
Not sure if it was a man or a woman. It's hard to make out, but we saw through the windshield for a short time.
Looked like a man to me. I mean, we have had women pull this, but it's, I would say 95% men.
More typical, yeah.
Young men, testosterone flowing, agitated, and, you know, they get into this kind of fight or flight deal.
Yeah, I mean, we typically see these kinds of chases, law enforcement situations, these where they're following a vehicle. This happens quite often in Los Angeles. It doesn't happen too frequently here, I would say.
And if it does, it's over before we get on it, before
Right.
we pick it up. In LA, these things string on for an hour or so.
Absolutely. This is much like situations that occur over in California, but this doesn't happen too frequently here, especially at 4:10 in the afternoon on a Friday, when traffic starts to build. So it'll be interesting what happens.
Checking with the control room if they've got any better bearings. Are we 51 here?
Yeah, trying to see. It's hard to make out the exit signs. We're
We think
backwards.
it's the 10 Broadway curve heading to the airport.
Okay.
I see. Yes. Okay. He's kind of made a circle. So if he were going to head to the airport, he'd exit in the right lane if he were going to go that route. And that'll be coming up here on your right, I believe. This is where it merges, and then you slide over and head to the exit for the rental cars, the terminals,
Right.
etc.
And if that's the case, I mean,
Again, into heavy traffic. Now what do
Yeah.
you do?
right. It's a heavily populated area, especially at this time of day on a Friday. There's going to be a lot of people down in this area. He's riding the shoulder.
Okay, we have confirmed this is part of a Phoenix police pursuit involving an undercover operation, which would explain the phalanx of 3 or 4 black, they look like Suburbans, but they're even look larger than that. So the undercover part of this is very interesting because there were 3 or 4 black, really large SUVs with tinted windows that were on this guy's tail for a while when he was in the neighborhood near McDowell and 24th, just a little bit north of the 202, heading toward downtown Phoenix. Then he lost them, or they backed off. We don't know which, but again, he's heading into serious traffic here. This looks like he might be back on the 202. Or is it the 10?
It's still the 10.
Still the 10.
But since we've learned this is an undercover pursuit here, that explains the unmarked vehicles and, you know, all of the unknowns about this guy or where they're going and what they may be carrying, what their plan is.
Yeah, if we've got our bearings right, then he'd be coming up on the 143, which you can also exit to get to the airport. University Drive, 32nd Street. Okay. He's really got nowhere to go because of the traffic.
Right.
But the other problem is it's hard to get officers in on that too because of the traffic.
Right, and I don't see those vans right now. We're kind of close. I don't know if in a wide shot maybe they're further back, but I'm not sure if they'd go onto the highway at this point or if they'd, you know, wait for him to exit.
The one thing this does is it buys them time to get out ahead of him. As he slows down and he's stuck in traffic, they can start to deploy officers at turnoff points up ahead to maybe, you know, head this guy off. It's tricky because you get on surface streets, you know, you don't want to do pit maneuvers on surface streets necessarily. That's too dangerous for everybody involved.
Right.
But they could box him in, they could block him, and we may see one of these unmarked units box him in where he's got nowhere to go.
Yeah.
And the people driving today have no idea what's unfolding.
Right. They have no idea what's happening around them.
Right.
I mean, if you're watching and you know anyone that's traveling home from work and maybe taking this route, maybe advise them to take a different way. I mean, it could be a dangerous situation for people, for all involved.
Right. And we don't know if he's armed. We have no idea. But
Right.
this is apparently and confirmed now by Fox 10. This was part of an undercover operation involving that car. And we don't know what he was involved with. We believe it's a single male driver in what we believe is a Ford, that silver Ford.
Yeah, blending in with traffic now. Not going extremely fast, you know, kind of not weaving lanes, just moving along. It's hard to tell what they're going to decide to do next.
Well, the other part, and police have evolved on this over the years, you know, they've kind of learned to not heighten the situation. And so they'll back off, watch him from the air, feeling the time's on their side.
Oh, here we have the vans.
Yeah, we've got these units, those black units with the tinted windows.
Okay, maybe they're going to try to corner him here.
They might.
And get traffic to stop. You can kind of tell the cars are slowing down. I don't know if that's just traffic.
So it'll be interesting if this one in the HOV lane will try to get out ahead of him and cut him off.
As we pull out here, you can kind of see this wide shot of what's going on.
So we've seen periodically these black units with tinted windows that may be part of this undercover operation to try to stop this guy. And it's involving Phoenix PD.
I think we may, yeah. Chopper's it's becoming difficult to keep a close eye on this vehicle as it starts to blend in with traffic here, but you can see those black vans we were mentioning, likely with Phoenix Police. Here we go. The part of this undercover operation, again, we don't know what this is all about, what this person may be responsible for, if this is a stolen vehicle, could be. But it seems to be part of a much larger operation here with Phoenix Police.
Yeah, look at all these black unmarked cars. That is part of this, and it's a big number. This has to be pretty serious to deploy this kind of manpower.
Right.
That's not part of it, but the ones up to the right of our screen, if they pan over, you'll see it. So they've gotten out ahead of him now.
Yeah.
Some of these units. So this will be interesting if they can pinch them in. And, you know, we're going to warn you that if they stop him, we may have to pull out because we don't know what might unfold on live television.
Yeah, they have a plan in place. It looks like they're starting to slow down here. Not sure if they're trying to box him in, corner him, and see what happens once he comes to a stop.
I-10 south of US 60. He may have a sense of what's happening here. He certainly wants to go faster than he can go right now.
Yeah, he knows he's being tailed. Obviously, he's surrounded by these big black vehicles, which were following him on the side streets as well. So he definitely knows they're around. And again, as you mentioned, John, you know, he could be on the phone with other people. It could be, you know, planning some kind of escape here or attempt to escape from the highway. But as traffic begins to build up, as you know, around this time, it's going to be pretty impossible for him to get away quickly, at least from the highway.
Yeah, he'd have to exit again and end up on side streets where he'd have a little more room. But I'm very curious about these black units, these all black units with the tinted windows that are big SUVs that have now pulled ahead of him. They're not in our frame. And you would think they could start to pinch this guy down to where he gets boxed in. That may be the answer. The other part of it, though, is if this guy's armed, and if they knew he was armed, they may be reticent to go there on a crowded freeway.
Yeah, we're on the I-10 southbound coming up on Ahwatukee now. But this all started, you know, he's been all over the valley at this point. So during a busy time of day, lots of people on the roadway, and it looks like there's not many cars around him now, but those big black vans that we mentioned, likely with Phoenix Police, part of this undercover operation, they're planning something because they're all mostly, as far as we know, ahead of him at this point.
Yeah, this guy is hit for the cycle. He's been on the 101, the 202, the 51, and I-10 throughout this. So he's covered a lot of ground. Don't know what the gas situation is on board, whether he's got a full tank or, you know, that's another issue with these guys. Sometimes they run out of fuel. But again, the time is on the side of the police in these situations. They can wait this guy out. If they've got him from the air and they have a clear drop on him, they can see him. He's trying to exit.
All right, it looks like we might exit here. Now that all of those unmarked vehicles with police were up farther than he was, I wonder what's going to happen now.
Yeah, this is where it gets tricky. It'll be interesting to see if he obeys this light.
Okay. This could be Ray Road here. Taking the
Is that
exit.
one of those units behind him? Yep,
Yep.
it looks like
Okay,
it.
so there were some behind him.
Yep.
Well, these things change pretty quickly, as I'm sure units that are following this guy are aware of.
There's a couple of those behind him, stacked up. I don't even know what that is. That is beyond an Escalade. That is...
I know, it's almost like
It almost looks armored to me.
Yeah, maybe it is. Phoenix police chopper also following this guy from the sky.
That pedestrian has no idea
None.
what he's walking into.
The other vehicles around him also likely have no idea what's going on. But again, it doesn't appear that there's any other people in the vehicle, in this silver vehicle that's being followed by Phoenix police at the moment. It seemed to be a man in the front seat driving in a red shirt.
Okay, that was Broadway there. We're told this may be near the 143 and I-10. That was Broadway that he just crossed there.
Okay.
That's one of those units, and there's another one behind him. Oh, they've
Pulling
got the grappler.
The grappler.
There we go. They got him. They got him.
The grappler device
They
used
got him. The grappler,
to stop the vehicle.
again, working to perfection. Now, this is going to get interesting.
Oh, here we go.
He has nowhere to go, and he didn't even see that coming.
Again, a word of warning, watch with caution here. We may need to pull away from this if something,
He's
becomes
got long
graphic.
arms there. That's a serious weapon that he just pulled. That's not a handgun. That's a rifle.
Wow. We'll see.
Wow, shot fired.
Okay.
He must have drawn a weapon for the officers to do that. If they fired on him, they must have felt that he drew a weapon.
Yeah, what you're looking at on your screen here, we've moved on. We've pulled away from this at the moment as shots are being fired. We don't know what's going to come of that situation, so we want to pull out just in case something graphic does occur on screen. But of course, we will keep you posted on that pursuit, on exactly what happens.
Yeah, we could tell you
we
two
will let
shots
you know.
were fired on his car. We cut away from it, but 2 shots were fired on that car.
Okay, we're moving on to another story now. The person on your screen has nothing to do with that pursuit situation. We're learning more about a suspect in custody for the hit-and-run death of a 13-year-old boy in Goodyear.
Goodyear police have arrested 44-year-old Richard Romo. He is booked on a charge of leaving the scene of a deadly accident and failing to stay at the scene of the accident. Dylan Buensosko was hit near Estrella Parkway in Elliott on Tuesday while riding his bike home from school. The 13-year-old was just around the corner from his home when he was struck. Records show that Romo has a criminal history, including aggravated DUI. Romo's father lives just a block away from the crash scene. serious gear. And the weapon fired at the silver car when it came to a stop was, a serious assault weapon, I think you could say, that officers were using, standard. But this was not sidearms. They were using serious firepower on this guy and fired 2 shots. The only reason they would do that is if they felt he drew a weapon or presented a threat to them.
Yeah, they
fired
the car
right through
now.
the window.
They're looking through the car. It'll be interesting to see if they pull out any firearms or if they find anything inside, but no other passengers inside. It was just that driver.
Yeah, and again, we don't know the genesis of this, what this was all about. Why so much police presence on this guy? What was he involved with? And what led to all this? We understand it was an undercover operation involving Phoenix police earlier in the day. So they were ready to go. They were loaded for bear. We had a lot of those unmarked black units. There was even one that looked like a utility truck that was in pursuit of this guy. You would never know it if you passed it on the road, that it would be part of a police operation, but it was. And the tactics are just something to behold.
Yeah, and this pursuit went on across the 202, the 10, all over the valley, and now we're here at the I-10 and Broadway where it came to an end. And it appeared as though the driver put his hands out of the sunroof at the end there after officers had already fired at the vehicle. He kind of put his hands up, and then they went in with the dog and other officers and pulled him out of the car, and he was put in handcuffs. He's sitting on the side there in that red shirt.
On the guardrail, yeah. I can't believe he is not seriously wounded.
Yeah.
Officers fired 2 shots into the vehicle, and then it looks like there's other holes in the passenger door. So it's remarkable this guy is even sitting upright after that.
Yeah, and again, this was all part of an undercover situation by Phoenix police. Which is why you see all of these unmarked vehicles here that were following this guy. But we don't know what he's responsible for, what he may be involved with. All of that will come to light soon. But at this point, we just know that, he's been arrested. He's on the side there, detained.
Yep. Here's the end of it. There's the grappler being deployed. It grabs those tires, wraps around the axle, and there's nowhere to go. And they've got him. They can literally pull him back. It's like a fishing line. It's brilliant. And really the safest way to do this, if you can